I wanted to show you how I make this mask. I think some people might call it a 3D mask. I watched a lot of foreign language videos and I picked the size pattern that I thought would work best for me, which is 18.5 by 27 centimeters all the way across. I'm going to be talking in centimeters and inches because the mask pattern came in centimeters and it was just easier not to have to convert it. So then I measure up 5 centimeters and over 5 centimeters and cut this angle on all 4 corners. I also added mask pocket, which is optional. I cut this 4 7/8 by 2 7/8. I use non-woven fabric stabilizer for my embroidery machine, and I cut that 2 3/8 by 5 inches. Here's the mask pocket. You're gonna sew up the ends. I just turn it once and sew it. I also cut a strip of fabric 1.5 by 6 inches. I fold over each end. I sew one end, leave the other end open because I'll stitch over that later. This is for the nose wire. I'm going to cut 2 pattern pieces. They don't have to be the same fabric. A lot of what I've been doing, because I'm short on fabric, is I'll use my pretty fabric on the outside and I'll use muslin or white fabric underneath it. Pin it all down and I sew all around it, leaving about a 2.5 inch opening at the bottom to turn it. A lot of the patterns that I've seen and the ones that I first started doing leave the ends open. I think this is so much easier. So I sew it up all around, I clip my corners, and then I turn it right side out. And here it is. So I'm going to iron it all down, pin my opening, and then here's where that 1.5 inch by 6 inch piece comes into play. This is for the nose wire. You can see it's hanging over here. I do it on this side so I can take my pins out as I go. And it's going to come up about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch above your fabric, your mask fabric. Then you're going to top stitch all around it, the whole thing. And see, it's caught your nose wire fabric. You're going to trim, this is hard to see here, you're going to trim the excess fabric off right here. I've already done that. And then you're going to fold it down and press it really good. Then you're going to sew it down here and across here, and you're going to back stitch here. And here you can see where I've sewn it here and all the way across. And this ends up being, I guess, about 5.5 inches when it's done. Then you're going to, this is where you're going to fold it. Right about these corners, you're going to fold it in. But you're also going to measure it. And I like these about 4.5 to 5 centimeters. So measure. That's perfect. Looks like it's about 4.6, 4.7. And you're going to press it down. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. And there you go. About 4.7 centimeters. Press that down. And if you're going to, I like to use my Cricut and put designs on them. This one says we're all in this together. This one has my monogram. It's just fun to kind of dress them up. But this is where you're going to want to do that before you've put your pocket in, so your fabric is nice and flat. Put your heat transfer vinyl on here, making sure that you don't go too far because you're going to top stitch both of these folds here. You're also going to add After you've done that, you're going to add your pocket if you're putting a pocket in here. Put it in there nice, fold it over. I pin it here and here to make sure my fabric doesn't shift. And then I'm going to stitch across the top, stitch across the bottom. And this is what it looks like. So there's my pocket. I use, like I said, stabilizer from my embroidery machine, and you're just going to slip that right in there, and it'll hang out a little bit on both sides, otherwise it'll fit pretty snug. You can take it out when you wash it. Now we're ready to put the casings on. Since the edges are finished, you just have to roll it over one time. You're going to fold it over until you see a little triangle right here. I don't know if that's important, but that's what I do. Do it on the other side. I pin it down. I also, again, pin my fabric here and here, keep it from shifting. I stitch it up, and then I turn these flaps out right along the edge of that casing line. Pin it down. Pin the other side down. Now, if your point here comes below your fabric, kind of move it up so it doesn't go any further than the top of your fabric. But you want it right up against that casing line. Pin that down. And then you're going to sew right along that line to tack those two flaps down. And there's about quarter inch, maybe a little less than a quarter inch stitch line. I don't know if you can see that real well. I didn't pick a very good fabric, sorry. But then my nose wire is, I believe this is 16 gauge wire. I'm not entirely sure. It's got a nice amount of bend in it, but it's not too thick. And what I do is I take this wire, I don't even bend these ends in. I take white electrical tape, open it up, lay this down on top of it. I get two of them from one piece of tape. And then I fold the tape over and trim. And this is what I end up with. Kind of looks like bread tie, but a little bit stronger. I'm going to put that in here. This ended up being probably about 5.5 inches. My wire is generally about 4 inches. You can make it as long as you'd like. And then I just kind of feel it, but this way you can take it out when you wash it. And put your elastic in, or your head straps, or whatever you're going to use. And there's your mask. I like this one because it fits well. I wear glasses, so I can bring this all the way up to my nose and put my glasses on, and I'm good. No fog. And this goes below your chin. I hope this helped.